Hello. In this session, we are going to get started with structured query language using the shell server that's available through the computer science department at Cal State Fullerton. Now, for logging into the shell server, you probably have an account already. And if you don't, then well, you need an account to get started. Now you will log into the shell server using the SSH protocol that is available through terminal or the command prompt. And you would want to SSH using your username followed by the server name, which is shell.ecs.fullerton.edu. Now, once you are logged on to the server, the next step is to be able to access MySQL. And for doing that, you will first of all connect to the database, which is MariaDB in this case. You would say MySQL followed by the username, which should match with what you use for logging onto the shell server. Then -p option is for the password, followed by -h, which is to give the host name, which would be MariaDB. And then you use MySQL, which is a relational database management system, which is available on Shell already for everybody. And you can get started using SQL commands. Now you may have to type in semicolon just because if you do not enter semicolon after a statement, the system may be waiting for looking at the end of the statement, which is once you give the semicolon, it identifies that the end of statement has reached. So if the system does get confused, it really matters that you have to give a semicolon. Otherwise, some systems are able to tell that the end of the statement without the semicolon has reached. Now, keep in mind when you assign a name to the tables or relations, the relation name matters, and uppercase is different from lowercase. Hence, if there were two relations with the names pet, all caps, versus pet, all lowercase, these would be considered as two different relations. Now, once you have logged on to the shell server, first of all, you can see what all databases are available. So before we get there, let me show you how you can log in onto the shell server. Now, once you do have the correct login password and username, you would see a screen like what I'm showing you here. You can check your username at any time by typing in who am I, for instance, here. And next step is connecting to MySQL, which is your relational database. Now, in order to do that, you would want to type in what your username is, and keep in mind you will need to enter the password. The password is what you may have chosen to log in onto the server. Now, when you're typing in the password, it may appear that nothing is getting typed. However, keep in mind that it actually is right here, but you just cannot see the cursor moving. Now, once you have the password entered successfully, you will see a welcome to MySQL Monitor welcome message, something that appears as you see here on the yellow screen. Once you are into MySQL, you can access what all databases are available. And like I said, you can skip the semicolon, but at times the system may be waiting for the semicolon. And when you see this arrow, it shows that it's still waiting for the end of statement. The moment you put the semicolon, it shows you the result of your query. Now here, these are the databases that are available. In your case, you may not see the same list. There may be some that exist which have been created for you, but you should have at least one here. Now you can choose which database you want to use by using the keyword use, as you see here. And this would mean that I want to use the database CS332Z, and it shows a message that the database has been changed. Now, if you type in show tables, it should show you any tables that exist within this database. So keep in mind, a database is a collection of relations or collection of tables. And there are 3 tables that exist within my CS332Z database. Now, you may not have any of the tables because when you log in, it's a new account. You don't have the tables created yet, which is all right. You will see steps in this video how to create tables. So once you are familiar with them through the subsequent slides, you can try out the queries that can create tables for you. And we will also look into how you can alter or change the existing tables. Now, let us say I do not have the student table already. So I am going to get rid of the student table from here because I want to recreate it. I say drop table student, and now if you see the list of tables, you would see that the student table has been dropped. Now, if you go on the slides, you can do show databases for accessing the list of database that exist, and then you can start using a database. You can change to another database from the current database by using the use keyword, and you can see the tables that exist within that database. Once you are using a database, you can create a table also. So let us create the table student, which is using the keywords create table, name of the table, followed by the round parentheses, and anything you put inside of this would be a part of the table student. So here I have 2 attributes, the first name and the last name. Now, right after the attribute name, followed by that is what kind of attribute is this? Now in SQL, you can use varchar for an attribute type, and within brackets, you can give a length that you want to assign for that particular attribute. In this case, the first name can be 15 characters long, and same goes for the last name, which is also varchar. Now, if you click on show tables or you type in show tables, it will show you the most recent tables, and that would include the student table that we have just created from the step before. If you were interested to look into what the student table looks like, you can use the describe keyword, which helps you look at the field, the type of the field, and if there are any extra details about the table, all of those will show up using the describe statement. Now, here's another table that you can create, which can have some extra information about the attributes. For example, the last name cannot be null. The first name cannot be null. So anytime a person is being added to the table person, you cannot have a missing last name or a first name. Now, that isn't the case for age, which is a third attribute that does not have a not null condition. Now, keep in mind when you're creating a table, you use the round parentheses and you give the attribute name followed by the attribute type, and use a comma to separate one attribute from another. Only the last attribute would not have a comma because that is the last attribute. It's not followed by another attribute here. Once you're done with the create table statement, a semicolon for the end of the statement character. Now there are a few more statements that you can try. For example, you can do a select statement where you can select everything from a particular table. So let us look into the student table that we created. a few minutes ago. So of course, we just created it. We have not inserted any students in the table yet, so it is an empty set so far. Now let me go ahead and insert some values into the student table so that we are able to view what a table looks like. So if you use the insert into command, it would be the insert into keywords followed by the table name in which you want to insert your values, followed by the values keyword, and within round brackets, you give the list of values for the attributes. Now, you don't have to mention that the name of the field is the first name and the last name. Whatever order appears in the student description is followed for the values that are given in the insert into statement. Now, in here, if I wanted a student John Doe, John being the first name, last name being Doe, this is the syntax that you would use. Now, when it is run successfully, you would see the query is okay, one row affected. And if you did select all from student after inserting, now you will be able to see that there is one entry into the student table, and same way you can enter whatever number of students you want into the student table. And if you select everything from student, you will be able to see a list of all the students that appear in the table. Now you can also do a select count star from student, which will give you the total number of rows or the total number of students that are present in the student table. So basically what you see over here is the outcome that is, it's computing how many rows are there in this table, and that is the result shown with this query. Now you can also alter the name of a student table or any table using the alter table command. So let's go ahead and alter the name of the student table to have a new name with all lowercase. So you would say alter table student, rename it to have the new name, which is student. And if you now wanted to see all the tables, you will see that the name has changed to the new name, which we accessed in the alter table command. Same way, you are also able to modify any of the attributes in a particular table. For example, you can alter a table, modify the last name. You can increase the limit for the particular attribute, take it from 15 to 100 or whatever limit you want to set. That's also possible using the alter table command. Then next up is creating a view, which can be done by using the create view command. Now, MySQL allows you to create a view that is based on a select statement, meaning it is going to access the data from one or more tables. So you have what is known as a view. Now let us go ahead and create a view for the student relation that we have. And it says the view already exists. Well, of course, because I need to delete this particular view. So let us go ahead, use the drop view command, which can drop a view since V is the view that I have from before. So I'm going to drop it. And now if I rerun the query from before, which says create a view, call it as V, where I am going to select the first name and the last name from the student relation. Now it wouldn't complain. It says the query is all right and it ran successfully. You can now access information from a view as if it was a simple table. So view just has the first name, last name from student. You could also do a single attribute. You can use whatever attributes you're interested in, and it would show you the same information that is available from student. Now, keep in mind, we did not add any information using create or using insert into the view. It is getting the information from the student table. So if the information from the student table is changed, V is going to reflect that. Now, if you wanted to know whether a particular table is a view or is it a actual table, you can use the show full tables command, which would show you the type of the table to be a base table. And if that table type is view, that means it isn't a base table. And that way you can differentiate between the two. Now, if you were only interested in accessing the views, then you can use the show full table with the where clause, where you would say the table type is view. There's an underscore between table and type here. Now you can also select information from a table, and you can do that in multiple ways. So let us see a few of them here. You could simply say select all from student, and it would show you what exists within the student table. You could also create an alias for the table student, call it as S, and then look into the table followed by the period sign followed by the attribute name. So table name followed by period followed by attribute name is what is required when you have an alias, which is given using the as keyword. And you could also skip the keyword. It works fine without the keyword as well. You could also run the command as you see here, and it shows you just the first name from this student table. With the alter table command, you have the power to modify quite a lot of information about existing tables. You can add a new column by simply using the keyword add with the new column that you want to add, followed by the data type that should be used for the column. And you can add one or more columns. Then you can see an example here where I'm trying to add the middle name of an employee in the employee relation, which is of the type varchar with 30 characters as a limit. Now you can also rename an attribute or the field name with the change keyword in the alter table command. For example, SSN wants to be given a new name with the S capital. You can do that in the fashion shown here. Now, if you run the describe command followed by the alter table command with the change clause, what you can see is now the new name would exist for that particular attribute. Here are some more options that you can try with an alter table command. It includes adding a column, adding a unique constraint to a column, making a column to be a primary key, setting a default value for a particular column, or renaming a table to have a new name. And you could also change the name within a table. You could also use the drop command with the alter table query, which is you want to get rid of a particular column from a table, or you wanted to drop the primary key, or you wanted to drop the index, or you wanted to drop the default clause. You can try any of these using the syntax as shown here on the slide. Now, when you're inserting values into a table, you have two options. You could either go with insert into table followed by values and just give the values, like the example you saw a few minutes ago. The other option is you don't want to give the same order as during the time of the table creation, meaning you want to be able to set a new list for your values that you want to insert, specifying these values to which attribute do they belong. Meaning, if I wanted to insert into student values first name and last name, where the order during the table creation time was first I had the first name and then the last name, then I don't have to specify. But if I want to give the last name first and then the first name, then, well, I need to mention that in the insert into statement. So the way that can be done is insert into student, L name, F name, values, and then you want to give the last name of the student followed by the first name. That way, the L name would have the value V1 and F name would have the value V2, unlike the previous scenario where V1 would automatically be assigned to whatever the first attribute is, V2 value would be assigned to whatever the second attribute is. Now you can also update an existing table. You can use the set option with the update query where you say update followed by the name of the table, set attribute name, use the equals or the assignment operator followed by the value, and then you have the where condition. So you want to specify where you want to update the value in the table. So here's an example. If there was an employee table with an SSN attribute, you would say update employee, set the SSN value to be this particular value where the SSN is set to 123, 123, 123. Now, if it is a successful query, you would see a message which says query okay, and there was one row that was affected, meaning there was one entry into the table that had the social security number as 123, 123, 123. Now, in case if this value wasn't found, then you would see that 0 rows matched in this case. You could also delete from a particular table. You have to specify what condition. If you don't want to delete the entire table, you would say delete from table and then give the condition that can be, for example, the first name of an employee to be Ross. So if there was a Ross in employee, you would see that being removed or erased after you use the delete from employee command, where employee is your table name. And you also have some substring pattern matching options that come with the select command, which would be select all from the table name where this is the attribute name, like S percentage within quotes. Now, percentage is nothing but a wildcard that would accept any value. So if there was a person with the first name Sam or Steve or Samantha or Shelley, they would all be selected or appear as a result of the select query here. Now, if you were looking for something specific, for example, Steve, you could use the ampersand, the underscore, which is exactly one character can fit in here. So if there were any first names with starting with S and an E in the third alphabet location, then those first names would be selected. Now, the order in which you see the result appearing in a table, so if there are 3 entries in an employee table, when you do a select all from employee, you see the names appear in a particular order. Now, if you wanted to have an order of your choice, let's say you wanted to see a salary order, you wanted to see the highest salary or you wanted to see the lowest salary, you can use order by, which would be followed by the attribute name using the ascending or the descending option. The default is set to ascending. And you can do the same for any attribute from the list. So if you were looking at the screenshot from select all from employee, you can see that the department numbers appear in a random order 5 to 8. So if you wanted to look into the department numbers in an ascending order, you can use an order by clause with the select command that would show you the department numbers in the sequence you want. Now, here are some more queries that are for you to try. You can use them on an existing table, or you can use it on a new table that you want to create, call it employee, or use it on any table that you already have. In all, what we looked into was how you can log in into the Shell server, what are the ways you can use the SQL queries, the basic queries on the Shell server, and the different options available with insert, delete, and update statements in SQL. Thank you.